the tri-year of the Erie County Bicentennial. And this project was really born of that commemoration. And it is my honor to be here this morning, acting as a kind of MC of sorts to welcome up some really distinguished speakers and people who have driven us to this moment today in this historic marker. The marker project as part of the bicentennial was one of the areas that we really worked towards a lasting legacy. I would say not only was the markers a nice piece that came out of it, but also the relationships between the heritage-based partners during that period, groups that are still meeting today and are still working on ongoing issues around history and raising people's awareness for the deep and rich and complicated and nuanced history that we have here in Erie County. It is now my pleasure to welcome up our county executive who really had a great vision for recognizing the... Oh, it's you first. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm a terrible MC. It's Barbara first. I was like looking at the X's. Barbara first. And Barbara, actually, I've got to know over a long period of time, not only through her work in championing history, also now serving on the board, serving on several committees, but she has been a tireless champion for Black history in this community and really is the one who's been instrumental in bringing us to this moment. So it is now indeed my honor to welcome up Dr. Barbara Nevergold.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This has been a long time coming. We actually had this finished about a year ago, but weather and other circumstances delayed our dedication until today. So this is the site where the East Presbyterian church was located. And it must have been a very different scene 175 years ago, because I'm sure they didn't have to struggle with the traffic that we have today. But my role was to really talk a little bit about the church and about its history and why it's significant. The East Presbyterian was established 175 years ago when 6 African American men and their families left the Vine Street African American Methodist Church, now known as the Bethel AME Church. And we don't know why they left. There's reasons we have not been able to uncover, but we do know what they did when they left. They went to the Presbytery of Buffalo and they started the East Presbyterian Colored Church in 1850. Like I said, about 175 years ago. And through that church, they established a community that built buildings, as the one that was built here in 1854. It started with laying of the laying of the cornerstone. And in 1858, the church itself was opened. And I first learned about the East Presbyterian from the history of the Bethel AME Church, which was written by Dr. Monroe Fordham. And those of you who know Dr. Fordham know that he was a champion of preserving the history, the local history of African Americans here. But what he said about the church when he started it, he said it was ill-fated. And that word stuck in my mind because I wondered what in the world happened? Why was it ill-fated? And I thought this church deserves more than a footnote. And that's what prompted me to begin the research. And what I found is that in the 10 years that the East Presbyterian was active, they were engaged not only with the community, but also with the other 2 Black churches which were founded before them, the Vine Street AME Church and the Michigan Street Baptist Church. And they fought against enslavement. They fought for enfranchisement. They participated in the Underground Railroad, many of them having safe houses right in this community and also being conductors of the Underground Railroad. And they built a community of individuals coalescing with the other members of the community to really establish African Americans in this community and really have a voice for those activities and those movements that were important to them. And so as I've learned more and as I read more about the church and found out that after 10 years they left the presbytery, another mystery, because we don't know why they left the presbytery. Okay, so I got work to do to try to figure that out. But in any event, when they left the presbytery, where did they go? Pastor Steve? To Q. They went to the Episcopal Church, the Episcopal Diocese, and they established St. Philip's Episcopal Colored Church. St. Philip's moved into the church that had been built by East Presbyterian. And by the way, that church cost $7,000 in 1854, which was, I think, something like $283,000 today, today's dollars. And St. Philip's began to prosper as an Episcopal church in the diocese, the first African-American Episcopal church founded in the city. And of course, both St. Philip's and Bethel AME Church are still active and engaged in providing worship service and providing community service and uplift services and all of the things that enrich and create a vibrant community. And so today, we're here to unveil a recognition that one, the East Presbyterian Church existed, that two, even though they left one religious community, they joined with another religious community and has been sustained in that community for 160 some odd years. And with this marker, we join with other public artworks in the city, like the one outside of the county building, the statues of the women who rarely have statues attributed to them. But we join with that public works project in providing, again, a source of historical information to our community, but also to visitors in our community. I want to thank Mr. Poloncarz, county exec, for providing the support and the funding to make this possible. This doesn't happen just one person. Yes, I did the research and I pushed, but it really is a community working hand in hand to make sure that we preserve the history, but also that we share the history, and not only within our community, but visitors to our community as well. So again, I want to thank the county exec. I want to thank Melissa, Jason Hurley, who worked with us in the background. He's over there. And everyone else who has contributed to making this event possible today and preserving history, reclaiming for East Presbyterian Church, Colored Church, the history that was lost for a period of time, but was now available to us. And hopefully we will, again, add to that history as we do some more research about the history of that community. So having said that, I didn't even use these. I'm going to turn it back to Melissa so she can introduce someone very important to us.
Hopefully I can uphold my job here properly. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara, is just such a wealth of information about history here locally, and also a true example to follow in terms of how much there is still that we don't know and how many mysteries are still open. And we were just saying behind you that if there's someone who will figure out these mysteries, it will be Barbara. History is still a work in progress, and that idea of the history that's been excluded, I think, is something I've been thinking a lot about. And so with making these pieces like markers more visible and in people's view is part of is an important part of the work. So now it is my honor to welcome up County Executive Mark Poloncarz, who really saw an opportunity with the bicentennial to elevate all of our local history, which is very rich and long-standing. And so now it is my honor to welcome you up. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the corner of Elm and North Division in the city of Buffalo, which is the home of our public safety campus. I'm pleased to be joined here today by Erie County Legislator from the 1st District, Lawrence Dupre, as well as our Commissioner of Central Police Services, a small department that a lot of people, actually not small, but a department not everyone knows, but it is an instrumental in many facets of our life, and it's right there in the Public Service Committee, Brian Ross, as well as a few other members from Erie County government. You heard of Jason Hurley from my office, who played a role. I saw John Sullivan, our Stop DWI coordinator, was here as well. But I want to thank you all for being here and for supporting this worthy endeavor. I'm fairly confident, Dr. Nevergold, that this corner was an active corner back in 1850. However, the mode of transportation and the emissions from the mode of transportation were totally different than the ones today. So it would have probably not been all that different to see a lot of 1 horsepower going by, not 300 horsepower. But that's what Buffalo was at that time. It was a burgeoning city. It was coming off of the creation of the Erie Canal. And people were coming from all over the world and all over our country to come to the city of Buffalo to stake their fortune. So it's not surprising to learn about the history that we did not know, about how individuals came here and they settled and they formed a new church. And the impact that church in formation has, not only back then, but still today, as it is as the predecessor to St. Philip's. So first off, I want to thank Dr. Seals Nevergold for her continued work in trying to uncover these stories. We would not be here today without her research. So on behalf of the people of Erie County, thank you, Dr. Nevergold, for all the work that you did to uncover this story. It really means a lot. And I want to thank all the partners who made this a possibility, not only those who were in the Bicentennial Committee, but now, as a result of what came out of the Erie County Bicentennial and the understanding of our history, the creation of the Historical Commission, and there's quite a few members of the Erie County Historical Commission here today. So I look at this event as not the capping off in some ways of what the work that was done for the Bicentennial Committee, but the beginning of the issue and the work that will be done with regards to the Historical Commission about finding these undiscovered stories, because we as a community need to know them. We need to know about the individuals who came here before. Everything we are as a people, everything we are as a community is a work and the result of the individuals who were here 170 years ago, who were here 100 years ago. And those stories must be told. So we better understand our history, the good and the bad, because it all wasn't good. We need to better understand the history so we, as a community, can learn from it, hopefully be better, and thrive. So to all, especially Dr. Shields Nevergold, thank you. Thank you for the work that you did to get us here today. This marker will be viewed by thousands. There are thousands of people who pass by this site, either going to work here at the Public Safety Campus or students who work nearby, live nearby, park nearby, and go to SUNY Erie. And when they read the marker, when they reflect on the past, they will understand more about our community, and that's something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Poloncarz. Yes, and history is a continuum, past and present. So now we have someone who can speak to that connection, and I'm going to welcome up Reverend Stephen Lane, who is the priest in charge at St. Philip's Episcopal Church. Thank you, Reverend.
It's an amazing honor and privilege to be able to serve St. Philip's. St. Philip's has been steadfast for years, for generations, in social justice, in caring for their neighbors, in working within this community. I think we need to realize that Buffalo is an amazing community. Where we all live is a special place in this country. Buffalo has a lot of history and has really moved the needle in a lot of ways, including the liberation of women and the freedom of slavery and fighting for social justice. The people of St. Philip's and of East Presbyterian before them have been in the forefront of that fight all the time they've been around. This community used to be based much more on faith than it is today, the larger community. And in those days, if you were about social justice, if you were about helping other people, you did it with a church. And this church is a good example of that, of where it went and where it is today in helping others and being there for others. I think Buffalo is an amazing community in part because of its diversity. But our history has been underrepresented for those minorities that have been in this area for generations. And this is a great step to help bring out more than just the few famous people, but the real people on the ground doing the work. So it's a real honor, and having Dr. Nevergold as part of the effort is a real gift to this larger community. Truly. And she doesn't think so, she just does the work. But what she's done is amazing. And where we are today, standing here in this location that nobody knew existed, we just thought this was part of the downtown, an old parking lot or something. This is a historic spot. And where we stand today is part of what Buffalo has been from the very beginning. So thank you, and thank you, Barbara. And Ms. Poloncarz.
Yes. Thank you, Reverend. And now I'd like to welcome up Reverend Dr. Todd Leach, the pastor at Westminster Presbyterian Church. Reverend.
Thank you so much for having me. I was here just as a participant, didn't know I was going to be able to speak, but I want to thank you all for being here to commemorate this moment in history when we recognize that a church once stood here that was forgotten for reasons unknown. But thank you for the research that has helped to bring it back to life so we can commemorate it and recognize that we are standing on the shoulders of the giants who come before us within this community, and we are honored to be able to do so. So thank you again for having this event, and thank you for your participation in this event. Thank you especially for the research.
And now it is my honor to welcome up Richard Pizek, the chair of the Erie County Historical Commission. That's the hat he's wearing today. He's known under many hats. Welcome up, Rich.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Yes, Melissa and I and Barb are working on a lot of different things. And one of the big things coming up is the America 250, New York State 250. And it was a conversation Mr. Poloncarz and I had about establishing something to remember what happened the last 250 years, but to put us on good forward and good footing going for the next 250 years and see how we can, better make this republic and this country that we all share and love. So one of the things we talked about is creating different milestones along the way. We have one coming up next year with the Erie Canal 200. We have, obviously, the America 250. We have Freedom in 2027. Freedom 250. There's a lot going to be going on. There's a lot of work ahead of us. And this is a great way to start it with this, what you've done here today. And I'm excited. I know the rest of the commission, we share the same excitement, and want to thank the county executive for the vision and the foresight to create this commission for us, because there's a lot to celebrate and there's a lot to commemorate, but there's a lot more work to be done. And you'll see that with us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And our last speaker before the dedication is Terry Alford, my colleague and friend, Executive Director at Michigan Street African American Heritage Commission. I would say corridor. Welcome up, Terry.
Good morning. You always got to take a breath when you call our names out, right? So it's a wonderful day, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And on behalf of the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor Commission and our four cultural anchors, our four founding anchors, we want to congratulate Dr. Nevergold and the Uncrowned Queens for a job well done, as well as thank the county executive in Erie County for recognizing the importance of doing these type of activities and supporting these type of unveilings and things. I think over the last month or so, you've been at a number of different unveilings, which is great things. And as Dr. Nevergold said, we got to be more than just footnotes. The storytelling is very important and vital to the continuous story of Buffalo to the Buffalo-Niagara region. It doesn't end when people, iconic figures, are dead, are in history. The corridor that I represents 185 years of the African American experience and stories in the Buffalo-Niagara region. We represent our emblematic of the cultural significance and impact made by a proud and tenacious people. and an unveiling a place marker, or simple place marker like this is really important in really expounding on the importance of those folks that were here before us, as you said, whose shoulders that we stand on. So, in the upcoming months, upcoming year, we'll be looking to expand on that storytelling and celebrate and all those folks and all those experiences that have come before us. And I'm looking very forward to next year with the bicentennial of the Erie Canal that continues to tell us that story that Dr. Nevergold is a big part of as well. So again, thank you for having us, and continue upward mobilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And I think if it's all right, I will move the mics over so we can unveil the marker.
Yes. We'll get the principals up next to it and everyone standing around and right over to grab that picture.
Yes, there is a QR code that leads you to an article in the Western York Heritage Register that's more expansive about the history and about the individuals who started East Presbyterian and then subsequently founded St. Philip.
We have come into the 21st century with our historical markers.